For some reason, it's really okay. So for some reason, it's really okay. So
welcome everyone. We're gonna go ahead and start checking people in. Thank you all for being here. Cassandra, are you gonna go through?
Right. Yes. Hey, Sean, can you hear me okay?
Will you let me know when we're on the record?
Yes. Sean, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Are you able to unmute yourself? Okay.
yes.
All right. And then Pastor Brian Ferguson, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thanks.
All right. And then Danny Klingler, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. Good seeing you.
You too.
Hi, Fritz. Can you hear me okay? Oh, you're still muted. Are you able to unmute
There you
yourself?
go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfectly.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you.
Nice to see you.
All right, Art, can you hear me okay? Are you able to unmute?
Yeah, the volume's a little low. I don't know if you can do anything about that.
Okay, I can hear you perfectly. I'm not sure if that's the speakers on your end, but can you hear me okay?
We'll figure it out.
The audio settings within the Zoom application usually have an additional volume setting separate from the computer that can increase the volume for you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Paula, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Cassandra, can I ask who RRW is?
I haven't checked them in yet. I'll do that now.
Okay,
There's the
thank
next
you.
one. So RRW, can you hear me okay?
Andy Wilson, yes.
And I apologize. What was your name again? I did not catch that.
Randy Wilson.
Randy Wilson. All right, Randy, nice seeing you. I went ahead and renamed you. So it looks like everybody's checked in and we're streaming and recording, so we're ready to go.
Sorry, am I supposed to start? I apologize.
Yeah, no, the chair that has been appointed to the BBA is absent today. And so we will need to entertain a motion from the board to select a board chair for today's hearing.
I would move to select Vice Chair Jamie Accurso as chair for this meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Ms. Chair?
Okay, I think we wanted to start by asking if any of the parties have a pre-hearing motion that needs to be addressed before we get into the agenda items.
We do. I'm sorry, and this is my fault. I think we should go through the hearing script, the pre-hearing script
Okay.
first.
Sorry.
Then entertain any pre-trial motions.
Reverse, rewind, back. Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Accurso, and I'm acting as the chair of the Board of Building Appeals for today's session. I would like to take a minute to remind everyone about the rules of this proceeding. This proceeding is at all times governed by the... Sorry. Did someone say something? I missed. Okay, sorry. This proceeding is at all times governed by the board's rules of procedure. A copy of the rules of procedure can be reviewed online. All those planning to testify today, which does not include those solely making arguments, such as attorneys, should stand and take an oath administered by the board's staff attorney. You want to do that at the end, right? This is a quasi, sorry. This
I'll
is
do
a
that
quasi,
person by person.
okay. This is a quasi judicial hearing. As such, the board reserves the right to deliberate in private. The Ohio rules of evidence do not apply to this hearing. However, professional rules of conduct do apply, and candor to the tribunal is required. The board members are citizen volunteers and are not paid for their services. They are treated as public officials under Ohio law. Any attempt to influence them, including but not limited to bribery, intimidation, retaliation, which may include contacting their employer in an attempt to exert influence, is punishable as a crime. All should be aware that this meeting is being tape recorded. Therefore, please speak clearly into the microphone and state your name and address for the record. In the event of any technical difficulties with the video conferencing technology, I may continue or postpone this hearing at my discretion. All participants providing testimony must have both camera and audio features turned on in order to participate. With that said, let's proceed with the first case. Sorry. Oh.
The first
Sorry.
case is 1212 Race Street.
So to kick this off, we wanted to ask if any of the parties have pre-hearing motions.
Yes, Madam Chair. This is Sean Suter on behalf of OTR Adopt Inc., the appellant in the case. We do have a pre-hearing motion in limine or a motion to preclude evidence relating to cost in this case that we submitted as of November 3rd, 2021. The board should have a copy.
The board has been shared a copy of your motion.
Okay. So the gist of the motion is that there are obviously costs involved in the work to be done to the bell tower. And those costs are not relevant to the three issues at hand in this case, which is whether a serious danger exists, whether there's an urgent threat to public safety, and whether demolition is immediately necessary. Those are three technical issues that can be addressed today by evidence from the engineers and have really no relevance to the cost. We are prepared to talk about cost if the board would like to do so, but we don't believe that it is a relevant issue with respect to those three legal matters. Thank you.
Attorney for the City of Cincinnati, do you care to respond to the motion?
Thank you, this is Erica Faalborg. No, on behalf of the City of Cincinnati, with respect to this motion, the city does not have a position.
Thank you. Attorney for the church, Mr. Shadley.
Yeah, my name is Fritz Shadley on behalf of the church, and yes, I oppose the motion. May I go forward and express why?
Ms. Chair.
Yes, please do.
I think the argument is straightforward. First of all, a full third of the exhibits of OTR, the appellant, have costs in them. Fundraising amounts purportedly raised, dollars to demo it, dollars to fix it. So a full third of their own exhibits have cost figures in them. More importantly, the reality here is that everything can be made safe if you spend enough money on it. But you must deal with the reality that this cannot be made safe. This bell tower cannot be made safe because there is not enough money to make it safe. The only way you can make the analysis of whether there's enough money to make this safe, and that's the ultimate issue here, can we make the bell tower safe? The only way you can make that analysis is to receive into evidence the cost to demo it, the cost to restore it, the cost to make it safe. And in our view, you are absolutely compelled by a sense of practical reality. You must consider the consequence of your order. They, OTR Adopt, we'll call the appellant, they have asked you to overturn Art Dahlberg's emergency order. And in our view, you must consider the practical of reality of what happens if you do overturn his order, particularly because his order includes a conclusion that there is an imminent hazard and immediate risk to the safety of the citizens of Cincinnati. If you reverse his order, you leave a very dangerous building standing. You leave a building with imminent risk to the safety of our citizens standing, and you will have no idea whether it will ever be fixed if you do not listen to the cost of the repairs. You have to consider the cost of the repairs in order to understand the consequence of your determination. Otherwise, ruling and overturning Mr. Dahlberg's order would be blind to what comes next. This is particularly important because there is an imminent hazard to the safety of the citizens, according to the neutral engineer here, Mr. Dahlberg. It is just not reasonable, I think, for this body to issue an order or make a determination blind to its consequences. What sense does it make to limit the evidence you consider when the public safety is at imminent risk? It's the end of my argument.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for the attorneys on the motion?
I would ask a question just in response to Mr. Shadley's comments. And let me preface this by saying we did receive the motion from the appellant, but and I would say this: we received the motion from the appellant and several exhibits and several exhibits from the church sometime yesterday. So and just want to be open that we're all sort of taking this in all at once, a lot of information all at once. And so we're doing our best to get up to speed, but that's the reality of where we are as a board. At least I'm speaking for myself. That's where I am. And Mr. Sirk, I'm not sure this is the appropriate to do it. You tell me, but like I would the question I would ask the question back to the appellant: if all of the evidence of cost were to be removed from the materials and testimony of the church or the city, would that also be true for everything that the appellant puts forward?
Madam Chair, to answer Member Blocher's question, yes, we would also strike the exhibits that include cost from our exhibits that we would proffer as evidence. We put those in there, obviously, just in case the board were to allow them into evidence. We wanted to have them there, but certainly we're willing to strike our own exhibits if that's the board's pleasure.
Are there any other questions? Sorry.
I have one more question, and this is may not be answerable, but Mr. Shadley, do you have any responses to? I think you laid out a practical argument in response to the motion about sort of why practically the costs need to be understood and the potential risks need to be understood. But do you have any response to the arguments on the law, I guess you would say, around the authority of the board chair and what should go into making the decision about whether to strike this or not strike this? If there is a response on that, on those points.
Well, the question is there an imminent risk, and is it immediately problematic? And does it bring the safety of the public into harm's way? That really can only be addressed if you can figure out whether you can solve that risk. We begin today from a place of one engineer, who's the city engineer, concluding there's an imminent risk. You're being asked to overturn that conclusion. My point is, you cannot meaningfully and effectively and coherently evaluate whether to overturn that risk, overturn the determination of imminent safety problem, without considering whether it can be fixed. And anything can be fixed with enough money. So you can't go into this blind. Considering whether it's an imminent risk has to include in it, can that imminent risk be saved? Can that imminent risk be solved? Can it be removed? And you have to consider cost to be able to come to that conclusion. It's impractical. We have a real risk here. So says Art Dahlberg, hired by the city, not by us or the opponent. And these folks want you to eliminate his order and put the public at risk. And you won't know, if you don't listen to cost numbers, whether that will be fixed in a day or a week, a year, a decade. You can't make a determination without determining the practical reality of the consequence of your order. Because if you do, you will place the public at risk. And that is not something that you want to do.
I did have one question along those lines, if I could, ask actually Mr. Dahlberg. Was cost a factor in your order?
Well, good afternoon. This is Art Dahlberg. No, our task is to evaluate whether or not we have an unsafe condition. It isn't the repairability of that condition that we evaluate. We're looking at whether or not we have an unsafe condition, and that's done independent of financial costs.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a motion or what we need to do, but I would like the board to be able to talk to Mr. Sturkey, and get some legal counsel on this question in whatever.
So that would be a motion to deliberate would need to be presented.
Okay. I'd move to deliberate.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. The board will move into private deliberation to discuss whether or not to grant appellant's motion. For all of those listening on YouTube, if you refresh your browser, as soon as we come back into the meeting, a new window will pop up and you'll be able to rejoin the meeting and continue watching. For everyone else who's in the